That's better.
I think you might be live now.
That's yay! Chat loaded.
It's going to take a few seconds for everybody to see.
Yeah, that's okay. Ooh.
We're officially live.
Yep, you're live.
Oh
Okay.
my gracious.
I'm closing the meeting and
that's okay.
muting my laptop.
Hello.
All right, thanks, Odo.
Oh my gracious. That was fun. We had everything. We did all of our tech set up ahead of time so that we'd be nice and smooth. And so far, throughout the con, things have been relatively nice and smooth. And then this was one of those things that we were like, we're just going to set it up ahead of time, and then it's just click the button and go. And we clicked the button, and it didn't want to go. And so that was fun. But yeah, we're here. Hi, sorry about that. Let's paint. I'm excited about this. So to get started, we're going to paint with I'm going to paint with acrylic paints today. I'm not really sure what you're using on your end. If you are less familiar with acrylic paints, I was too prepared. Yes, we were too prepared. Yes, absolutely. If you have not painted with acrylic paints before, that's okay. This is going to be relatively straightforward. How I start is by prepping my palette station, and my palette is a piece of wood so that I can easily pick it up and show it to you. But what I do is I take a piece of aluminum foil for the bottom part. I put on a wet paper towel, like sopping wet. You can either run it under the sink or you can squirt it with a squirt bottle. You want lots of nice good water on there. You can kind of see some of the water droplets from the squirt bottle there. And then you can reuse it for more paintings. And then a lovely piece of wax paper goes on top of that. And the reason I do this is because acrylic paint dries very quickly, and on the canvas that's a good thing because a lot of the paint that we work in is in layers, and I want that paint to dry very quickly. But on the palette, acrylic paint differs from watercolor or gouache in a very unique way in that once the paint dries, it is a solid, permanent substance. You can't just keep adding water to it and continue to work with it. Now on the canvas, that's a really good thing. That means if the canvas accidentally gets wet, if there's humidity, the paint's not going to release and run down the canvas. Watercolor, you have to either protect it or spray it or do some kind of final coat with that to prevent that from happening. So my workaround on the canvas or on the palette is to have a piece of wax paper on top of a wet paper towel. And what that does is a little bit of the water will permeate through the wax paper, and without watering down the paint can help prolong the life of your paint on the palette. And then the aluminum foil is just to protect the surface that I'm working on, because this is also valid if you're on the table. You can just do this on your kitchen table or whatever, but the wax paper is porous, so sometimes the pigments from the paint can also go down through the wax paper and stain whatever's underneath it. So that's why we have the aluminum foil. Yeah, hi Zoe. My cat has decided to join us today because it wouldn't be, a live con without somebody's cat joining the party. Alright, so this is I need to measure, I think it's 16 by 20 inch canvas that we're working on today. And for things to paint with, we have acrylic paint. I've got black. For black, I have a nice big tub of it. I've got white, which is lovely, big thing of, this is titanium white, although it doesn't really matter which white you use. I have raw umber, which is kind of a dark brown. I have raw sienna, which is a lighter brown. I have 2 shades of blue, technically 3 shades of blue. I have light blue, which is just kind of a nice sky blue here. I have a lovely cobalt blue, which is just kind of a nice rich blue. And then I have 3 shades of metallic. I've got purple, blue, and teal. Technically they call this one cobalt, but this is cobalt, this is not. Those are very distinct, different colors. The camera's over there, and one of these days I'll get the hang of that. These are very distinctly different colors. So, anyway, these...
Oh, hey, you're back.
Okay. There we go. Sorry about that. We ran out of internet. I still had the panel open on my computer in the office, where I could moderate if needed, and not right now obviously, but I forgot that uses internet too, so we freed up some tubes in the walls by turning that off. Okay, I'm not sure what was last heard. It wouldn't be the painting of the cat, isn't there? Yes, Zoe tries to help. Yes, very true. Okay, so
It was right around when you were talking about the two different blues, I think.
Oh, we lost quite a bit.
Since I'm muted here, I can't tell for certain.
Okay. Hi, Eva. Okay, so we're going to use a couple of different blues. We're going to use a couple of different browns. We have black, we have white, we've got some other metallic colors. Cobalt, is that where we left off? Cobalt? Okay.
Yep, the two blues. Yep.
Two blues, cobalt, got it. One's blue and one's teal. Okay, so when I do fan art, I don't tend to exactly duplicate what's already been done. And so when I look at the fissure, I see, you know, in the original mist opening, we have, yes, this is being recorded. Yes, you can watch it later. Words. Where did the words go? Oh, so if you look at the mist opening, and we have the fissure on the background there, the fissure is kind of a cyan blue. We've got the sun in eclipse, and then there's just black sky with some stars. But for me personally, if that's what if we were floating in space looking up into another world, we would see a lot more than just that, because that's, granted, at the time when it was made, they were working with limited tools. But for me, this is the ground ripping open, and so we should see some of the edge of that ground. If that's the sun right there and the light's hitting it, we should see the edge of that ground. So that's why we have two different shades of brown that we're working with. And stuff's happening in space. There's colors, there's nebulous gases, there's more than just black with some stars. So anyway, that's where we're going to go with that. That's where I'm gonna go with that. Y'all are welcome to do. Y'all are welcome to exactly duplicate what I'm doing. You're welcome to throw your own spin on it. You can work on something completely different. It's cool. For tools, we are going to be using a sponge. This is an art sponge that I've used a few times. You can use a kitchen sponge too. I just happen to really like the texture of this sponge. You want to go with something that has a lot of holes. Lots and lots of holes will give you lots of really good texture. This one still has glitter that one day will eventually get out of my sponge, but today's not that day. And we're going to use some brushes. We have a large flat brush. This is a 1-inch brush. And then we have some smaller flat brushes here, various sizes. And then we have I'm probably going to be using some of the black painting with a little sponge brush here. And then we have a toothpick. The glitter is never going anywhere. No, it's really not. No. That's not a sweet way of rephrasing lesser skill. This has nothing to do with I'm a fancy painter and you're a less fancy painter. And this has everything to do with everyone's style is different. Everyone has a different take on things. And so it's okay to have a different take on what I'm doing, or you can try and follow along and use that as a learning experience, or however you want to do that. This has nothing to do with skill levels. I'm still learning. We should be still learning. That's what this is all about. It just takes practice, and this is a really good opportunity to practice. Is what I'm getting at, trying to get at. So, with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and get started with the blue. So I'm going to start with my light blue. I'm going to squirt a little bit of the darker blue and a little bit of the white. When I'm painting, I want multiple colors going on at once. It gives a lot more texture and interestingness to my colors. So I'm going to squirt a little bit of blue on there. I'm going to squirt a little bit of cobalt, actual cobalt. This is rich blue. It's fabulous blue. This is what cobalt should look like, not whatever this is. This is a beautiful color. I really like this color. I'm just cranky that they call it cobalt. Not only do they call it cobalt, they call it cobalt blue. This is not blue. Ooh, that's right. That's why I don't use this paint. Acrylic paint gets old, and there's a reason I don't use this paint. Okay, here's what happens when acrylic paint gets old. It looks like poop. The light blue is new paint. It's delicious. The dark blue, that's old paint. That's what old paint does. It's clumpy, it looks like poop, if poop was blue. It does not paint smoothly, which in some cases can cause problems. So that tells me next time I go to the store, I need to get some, set that off to the side there, I'm going to get some different blue. And so instead, I think I'm going to use some of my metallic blue. So we're going to have a little bit of shimmer with our Smurf poop. Yes, this is Smurf poop. We're gonna well, it's valid. So the sky, unfortunately, is going to have a little bit of a shimmer to it. That's okay. That's okay. We're just adding a little bit of dark blue so that we've got more than just a flat cyan. Not that there's anything wrong with flat cyan, but there's more in our sky than just flat blue. And then the white is to add a little bit of texture because there's clouds moving around up there. Okay. So, what size brush do I want to use? Let's see. I think I'm going to use this guy. This guy is a flat brush. It has a rounded tip, but it is the bristles are squeezed flat. And when you're painting with acrylics, you want brushes with very fine bristles, very smooth bristles. That will give you a nice, even. Oh, sorry. Wouldn't be an online con if somebody's cat did not join the party. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint with all three colors on my brush at the same time, and we're just going to start filling in the sky here. Nope, that's the blue. I don't care about it. We're not going to get a whole lot of shimmer because the dark blue is only in there a little bit, and it is very overpowered by the other colors. So fortunately, we won't get too much shimmer. And I'm using arcing circular strokes, just for fun. I don't really have a good reason for that. You'll still see me okay? We freed up room in the internet pipe?
Hmm.
Yay, okay.
Yeah, you're coming through fine.
Excellent. My husband has joined us. You can't see him on the table here. He's helping gather questions and monitor the chat and everything, so rest assured.
I've been talking in the chat quite a bit.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if they knew that you were sitting right here. And I guess they do now. Can you hear me okay? I guess that's a steaming question.
Are you dipping the brush so that the colors swirl but do not blend?
Yes. That's exactly what I'm doing. I am dipping the brush so that the colors swirl but don't blend. I'm not actually... Here, I'm going to show you the palette. It's actually really hard to hold up the palette this high. But I don't want you to... Having the camera down low enough so that you can see the canvas and the palette means you're going to be like up my nostrils. So I have the camera up a bit higher, but it does mean it's harder to show what's going on. So this is my palette right now. I'm ignoring the Smurf poop, and I'm just dipping my palette in a little bit of the blue, a little bit of the blue, and a little bit of the white. So there are colors mixing, and that's okay, because this is the only use that they're getting, so I don't really care about them not staying super pure. And then my brush looks very marbled, and that's what I want, because it's easier to show different texture, different colors going on here all at once when you dip your brush in multiple colors that way. You do have to be careful in which colors you do that with, because some colors, if you mix them, you're just going to get mud. Like, don't do that with, like, purple and yellow. If you did that with purple and red, because they're close on the color wheel, that would work really well. Or red and orange, or orange and yellow, that's fine. Oh dear. My cat's bringing in a toy, and now she's going to start screaming if I don't start playing with her. But too bad, I'm kind of busy. We won't be doing this type of thing with multiple colors all at once when we're painting most of the sky, because that's going to be flat black, and then we're adding colors on top of that. You don't generally want to mix colors with black while the black is wet, so we want that black to dry as fast as possible. Now normally, well, Kelly, why don't we paint the black first? Because when I did my test painting, that went really well, but it was really hard to paint the edges of the fissure with the brown because the black was dry, and it also made it so that you couldn't rest your hand if you wanted to do some of the fine detail work because the paint was wet and you would just get black all over your hands. So, I've never actually tried doing it this way, but, well, we're gonna try doing it this way. I notice sometimes when I'm tapping on the canvas, this is a stretched canvas around a wooden frame, it does bend here in the middle, so if you need to use the other hand and brace the back of your canvas while you're doing this, that's fine.
Would you change any of this if you were putting the design on a t-shirt?
Depends on how the thing turns out. You know, it's actually easier to do a t-shirt if this was a digital painting. And I have actually done a digital painting after I did this practice painting a couple weeks ago. I was up at 2 in the morning because my brain just wouldn't shut up, and I was like, oh, what if we tried this with on the tablet? So I went and got my tablet, and I ran and sat on the couch, and I whipped out another fissure painting, and it actually gave me some ideas for how to paint like the edges of the fissure with the ground and stuff like that. So that was kind of exciting. But if you're doing designs for a t-shirt, it's a little bit easier just technically because you already have the design digitally. Doing a canvas, you have to get a good image of it, you have to color correct it, there's a lot of digital afterwork you have to do to be able to print that on a t-shirt. Not to say it's not doable, but it's going to be easier if the work is already digital.
Also, how hard is it to color match this blended blue if you run out? Should we mix up more than we think we need?
See, I'm not mixing paint. If you are mixing paint, That's tricky because I almost always put way too much paint on the palette than I need, which is going to be the case in this. I have 3 large grape sizes of paint, and that's going to be way more than what we need here. If you run out of dark blue but you still have light blue and white, cool. Then use the light blue and white, and it's going to be darker on one side and lighter on the other side. I say go for it.
That last one came from Discord rather than the YouTube channel.
Oh, okay. Hey, Discord. I'm glad you're watching too. Yep, that middle paint there is starting to dry already, so we're going to have to grab some more white and blend. There we go. Yeah, well, you can kind of see it on the tablet there. That there are very, yeah, I don't know. And this is just kind of my preference for painting. But again, you can have just light blue. And if you want to get just light blue, you use dark blue and you use white and you swirl it around with ideally a palette knife. Which, if you don't have one, they look like this. Where'd my palette knife go? It's in the sink. Okay. Sorry, hold on.
She will be back momentarily with a palette knife.
Let me see. Where did it go? Well, here's the plastic one. I don't know where my palette knife went, but here's a plastic one. They look like this. They're used for mixing paint. So if you wanted to mix a nice light blue and you didn't already have a color that looks like this, it's just dark blue and white. Start with white, add a little bit of dark blue at a time, because you always start with a lighter color and then you add dark as you go, because proportionally you're going to use like 5 times more light color and this teeny tiny amount of dark color to get the color that, you know, something in the middle. I don't know why that is. It's weird. I kind of want to flip this guy upside down. I'm going to flip this guy upside down. Remind me that it's upside down, and then I need to flip it right side up. No, I can't do that. That's going to mess up my brush strokes. I'm short. I almost want a step stool. Oh well. Can you grab the fan? Actually, a little warm in here.
Yeah. Although that's gonna be noise.
Just have it in the hallway. Just aim it in here. It's a little toasty in my studio. I think afterwards, if there's interest, I might spin the camera around and give you a little tour. This is where my like 3D printers live, and I make all my cool things. So it's my fun room. Yeah, just like right there. It'd be great. Rotate, rotate. Oh, yummy. Thank you. Air. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, now.
Question, will
Yeah,
the fan
answer.
make the acrylic paint dry even faster?
Yes, it will. In this case, that's a good thing. I want my paint to dry fast. Very, very, very important if you are not aware. Once you are done with your brush, keep it wet. Put it in a cup of water, put it in the sink. Make sure the paint is kept wet, because if it dries while on the brush, it will destroy your bristles. And on our nice fancy brushes, we don't want that. So, be right back.
I can get you a cup if you want. Okay.
The same thing goes for sponges, and you can just wash this in the sink. Just make sure that you don't have any like food items or plates that you would eat off of in the sink. Okay. We gotta wait for that middle part to dry, so let's dive into black. For me, I have black in a tub. And I'm not mixing black, we're just going flat black, so I'm gonna use a little sponge brush. These little 10-cent guys you get at the hardware store. And for this, we're actually going to start on the outside and come in because the blue is still drying. And I don't want the blue to smear and mix in with the black. That's going to look very not pretty.
Eva asks, I missed the first minutes. Did you
That's
draw
okay.
a pencil outline before you started painting?
Yes, I did.
It's a very extremely accurate fissure silhouette.
Oh, thank you. I did rough out a very light pencil just to have a clue when I was painting. Yeah, I did. I forgot to mention that. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. So we're just gonna bring in some black. This does not have to be fancy. We're just darkening the edges of the canvas. Yeah, doing it this way means that this is where we're going to be putting the metallic paints, the nebulous gases. They're going to be here in the corners. So by painting the black there first, that means that's going to dry faster than the paint around the edges. Because the paint around the edges, we want the black paint to be wet so we can mix it with the brown. That's going to work. Mixing the black with the blue, not so much. We want clean edges for that. So I gotta wait for that to dry. Oh dear, what? What?
Oh, just Hickory and Hummingbird says, so my freehand version will be a bit fun.
That's okay. That's okay. This was freehand. I didn't if the question was did I trace this? No, I did freehand this.
Just with a pencil.
Yeah.
Before.
With a pencil. But that's okay. Because, you know, if I like to think that not all fissures look the same. If we're ripping a hole in the ground, that's gonna look different, depending on where you are. So maybe this is the fissure from Riven, but your fissure is from Rialto, or Everdunes, or you know, one of the other bajillion and a half places where there might be fissures.
So you're saying that the ground composition will have an effect on the shape of the fissure.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Oh, that's already drying. Wow, this dries fast.
You do have the fan going on it.
I do have the fan going on it. That's a good thing we have the fan going on it, because that means this is going to dry nice and quick. This part's kind of boring because it's like, hey, we're gonna paint the rest of this part black. Okay. And if you're like me, you're welcome to paint the edges of your canvas. I usually do that after, or at least when we're well and into it, so I can actually touch the thing without getting paint all over the place.
Hickory and Hummingbird is asking, is the black the starry sky?
Yes, the black is going to be the starry sky. But it is much easier to paint. Ooh, that's fun. That moved much more than I meant to do, sorry. Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier to paint nebulous gases and stars and everything if we're working on a black background. But it's a lot harder to do the blue if we're working on a black background. That's when I did wrong my first painting, because I just blacked out the whole thing, and I was like, okay, now I'm going to paint the fissure. And the colors of blue, that's actually really hard to do on a black background. It just really, you have to do coat after coat after coat for it to really stand out and be that nice light blue color. So that means just having to kind of do the outline of it and then do the background, which is weird because with acrylic painting, that's like one of my general rules. We paint the background and then we move to the foreground. But in this case, like, space is the background, the fissure's the foreground, but we had to do the fissure first. It makes no sense, I don't get it. But this is, I think it's going to be a better way to do this painting. Let me really hope this turns out. Alrighty, that corner's going to be a little tricky. Let me see what happens. Okay, you can still see it. Good. I want to make sure you can still see what I'm doing without covering up too much of the canvas there. This part's kind of boring. We're just painting black. Okay. That's closer. I'm going to start to come into the edges. And then I'm going to get some brown ready. How's the blue doing? Okay. Easy way to check if your paint is dry is hold it up to the light. Have the light shine on that, because most of the time acrylic paint is going to dry with a semi-glossy finish. And so let the paint hit it, let the light hit it, and see what happens. And if it's a little glossy but not too much, then try touching it just very, very lightly. And if it's a little tacky but it's not like smearing off and coming off on your fingers, then yeah, that's dry enough to work with. If it's obviously still wet, then it's obviously still wet. So we need a little bit of light brown. I'm going to start doing the edges here. Ooh, way too much color. Oh well. Unfortunately, the only dark brown I have is also old and looks like poop, except this is dark brown, so it actually looks like poop. Except I don't have another one of these. And I don't have a better way to do this, unless I mix... No, that's not going to work. I was going to say, I could try and mix black with the light brown to get the dark brown, but... okay, hold on, maybe this might work. Does that work and not look like poop?
Hummingbird says, add
Ugh.
blue, just a tiny drop.
Add blue, just a tiny drop. Will that help with my brown looking like poop? Let's find out. Actually, Hummingbird, I owe you a coffee. That's interesting. It actually, there was a little bit of green in the black, I think, because when I mixed it with the brown, I got this weird, super dark olive green color that was really bizarre. Paint should be smooth, not clumpy. This is going to be clumpy if I try and put it on there. It's not going to go on there smooth.
Wow.
I wasn't kidding. When I said it looks clumpy and like poop. There was not much exaggeration there. This is the problem child. If you watched my 233 painting and saw me complaining about the brown, it was this guy. I'm going to set that one off to the side as a reminder. Go to the art store and get new colors of that one. Okay. So what we're going to do is now that wow, this guy dries fast. Most of this is already dry. It's black. So what we're going to do is
There was a comment earlier about people getting to literally watch paint dry.
It's true. I mean, you're exactly correct about that. We're gonna bring the black in and to the edges of the fissure, and then while it's still wet, switch back and forth between painting the edges of the ground with the brown. We want to do that while the black is still wet, so probably going to do that in stages since it's drying so fast. Because I want that brown to blend smoothly with the black, and that's going to be a lot harder to do when the black is dry. So, I'm going to get, it's good size. So this is a 1/2 inch flat brush. This has a flat topped edge right there. Kind of see it against the blue there. And then the brushes come to a nice sharp point. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's going to be really, really easy since the fissure has a lot of sharp edges, right? Because that's the ground going. It's going to be really easy to get a nice smooth edge, a nice sharp, well, smooth is the opposite of sharp, but a nice good solid edge. I have words, I promise, when you have a nice good flat brush. So this is what we're going to be using for the brown, and then I'm still going to be using the sponge brush for the black because this also has a lovely sharp edge. I haven't blended very many colors with this. This is my go-to for just solid whatever. If I'm priming a canvas or whatever, these are my go-to brushes. But now I'm kind of curious what would happen. Oh, I missed a few spots. All right, so we're gonna start here at the bottom and just bring in some black. Come right to the edge.
Isn't all of it mist spots?
Yes, all of it is mist spots. Well, it's ribbon spots because this is ribbon, not mist. Technically, that's ribbon, not mist. But har, well done on that. Alright. We're just gonna start with that one. And then, I hope this works. I don't actually know if this is gonna work. It might look terrible, but let's go. I'm really nervous now. That's fun. I should let it dry out a little bit.
We can bring the fan in.
No,
Point it directly at it.
no, it's fine. Okay. This kind of works. This looks kind of weird. Oh, fascinating. I know. I don't have black there yet. Hold on. There's purpose. Okay. Don't hate that. What was that? Oh, that was a bad idea. Alright. We do need to actually go all the way around. We do need the paint to dry a little bit. Having the paint be completely wet is, well, it kind of works, but not really. Oh, it's not that big. Alright. Where's the edges? Oh. Nope.
So you're painting a little bit more of the edges to give it time to dry a little bit before.
A little bit, yeah, because like taking the nice light brown and then I did one stroke and then it was like, okay, great, and I picked up so much black in the paint that like I couldn't do a second stroke without it just being mostly black. So please hold. I need to call geese for just a minute. Sorry. I didn't want to be sniffling in your faces. Okay.
So an excellent question came in.
Okay.
Do you ever get your hair stuck on the painting being so close to the canvas with the fan behind you?
Yes, that has happened. That has legit happened. Fortunately, it's never been really bad. I usually keep my hair a little bit shorter than I've been keeping it lately. Yes, I have gotten paint in my hair. It would be silly not to get paint in lots of places. I got paint in my hair. Yes. Yes, that has happened. Although it hasn't been enough to like alter the painting, I am kind of curious to see like what would hair painting look like? What does it look like to like throw a bunch of paint on the canvas, throw hair on there, and then pull it? Like what does it do? That'd be kind of a fun experiment. Ah. Well, that part's good. Oh.
A ponytail is just a really big brush.
It's true. It's true. And with as much hair as I have, yeah, that would be a very large brush. Damn it. Outlining this side is a little hard. I can't see what I'm doing. Closer, closer. Okay, this is starting to dry, so now I'm going to throw my brown.
There was a question about using painter's masking tape to have taped off around the fissure.
Yeah, masking tape would totally work. Yeah, and it doesn't even need to be specifically painter's masking tape. Would you grab the little red roll that's in the tub right there? They're like teeny little rolls.
I mentioned your stained glass paintings.
Yes, that's exactly what they're for. But it's yeah. So you can get. I got these off of Amazon. This is masking tape. It's painter's masking tape, but there's no. It's just masking tape. Masking tape has a very low tack, which means it's not as sticky as you would see on permanent tape.
Hummingbird says washi tape for the win.
Washi tape, yeah. Washi tape is very. I think this is a tiny bit stickier than washi tape, but not by much. This is 1/8 of an inch, so it's super thin. I got these for a stained glass painting. Take a big canvas like this and then put the tape on wherever you want the gaps to be. And then for me, it was taking sponges and just sponging in the colors where the different, pieces would be. And it was a really fun experiment, but, stained glass with paint. Although I like Jean's stained glass way better than stained glass with paint. But anyway, yeah, you could use masking tape. Something thin like this would work. It's a little bit easier to get some of those really intricate edges when you're using thinner tape. But yes, this would give you a nice clean edge too. Speaking of hair, I think that's one of Zoe's furs that got into my brush.
Did the little sidetrack there give too much time for the paint to dry?
No, it's fine. This is going to take a couple of coats to shadow and blend and highlight and blah blah blah. I'm just laying down the base coat right now. Oh, for those who didn't hear, here's what I'm doing. So I'm adding a little bit of the raw sienna, which is the light brown, and I'm adding just a little bit around the edges of the fissure. Because this is where you would see the ground. And we're going to go back and add some shadows and highlights in a minute. But we wanted to start by showing kind of a little bit of depth on what the ground looks like. Now it just looks like it's glowing brown, and it does not, you know, by itself looks really weird. But this is one of those epiphanies I had at 2 in the morning with my digital tablet of like, oh, this is a really good way to do that. My original thought was we have to do this while the paint is while the black paint is wet, except one stroke and the brush will pick up so much black that, well, laying down a second stroke just looks black with a tiny bit of brown, so. Okay, that's better.
So in this case, the paint drying is actually
The paint drying is actually working out, yeah. Because then what we're going to do is just go back over it with some of the black, blending it, adding shadows, and then going back over at the very end to add some highlights, some really sharp highlights at the very edge where this, because this is going to be the sun in eclipse. And so when the sun hits this, we got to think about, okay, this edge here is in direct sunlight, but maybe this one's in a little more shadow. This one's in direct sunlight, but there's a little more shadow going on back here. And so we got to think about, okay, where's the light source? And that'll help us get some more depth with the ground here. And then we'll blend in the edges of the brown with the black, and then we'll add the nebula. And then we'll add stars. That's my favorite part, because you know how we're painting stars? A toothpick. Painting stars with a toothpick. You can use a small pointed brush if you want to, but a toothpick I have found works really, really well because it doesn't distort the shape of the tip at all. You're still working with a nice sharp point, and it stays nice and sharp, so dang it. No. I'm gonna have a Bob Ross moment here and say there's gonna be oopses, there's gonna be ah dang it, that didn't quite look exactly how I want it to, but that's okay. Keep going. We only get better, but with practice.
There was already talks of happy little accidents.
Happy little accidents. I've already had several. And we will be painting happy little stars. Black. Now for this part, I'm going to flip it over because I didn't flip it over before because I was doing strokes that were going this way, and if I flipped it over, my strokes would be backwards for those spots. But for this part, I'm not doing any specific type of stroke except for, you know, just blacking it out.
So because it's mostly just kind of solid and not really showing any strokes.
There's no, it's just solid. There's no specific like strokes that you can see. So
Ooh. Question.
Answer.
Greg asks, to make stars, have you ever used that risky technique with a toothbrush where you just splatter paint?
I have, actually, and I hate it. I really don't like that technique because it is very While yes, you get a nice variety of sizes of splatters, you have to have the kind of setup where you have a very large area to protect. There's carpet in this room, so either I need to bring in like 5 garbage bags and protect a huge area while I try and get some, stars on there, or use a toothbrush or toothpick. Yeah. But yes, I have tried using the toothbrush and it just went horribly wrong.
Apparently, this is a interesting juxtaposition with the speed running. It was
They're doing speed running right now?
Yeah. Watching both was described as listening to classical and metal in the same headphones.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah, because speedrunning is probably very stressful. It's very high energy while they're trying to, get through the games as fast as possible. And I'm just like, okay, we're gonna have a relaxing afternoon painting some, some scenes from. Ooh, I think our hawk is back.
Yeah, I just heard it too.
In the Channelwood Age, here we have resident hawks that come after the squee.
Red-tail hawks.
They're red-tail hawks too. They're gorgeous.
Whoops! I just bumped the camera.
Quit bumping it.
Sorry, folks. That actually took a while for the camera to settle back down.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, so close with the sky. There we go. Yes. There we go. Cool. That's done. Okay.
Tamaba was saying that another issue with the toothbrush method, at least when they tried it, was that sometimes you get tear shaped splotches instead of the round splotches.
Yeah, it's inconsistent with the shape of the stars. You're getting a lot of kind of seemingly random shapes. It's not quite the white. It is nice for the variety of size. Some of the white splashes are so tiny, so it's a nice way of getting that nice variety.
And a little bit more randomness, probably.
It's a little more random, but mess and oval shaped and tear shaped and other shapes that stars don't normally have. So I need to remember which way is up, because my test painting that I did a couple weeks ago, I flipped it over to do just that, and I forgot to flip it back over, so the thing's upside down.
Right now it's right side up.
It's right side up. But my other one, I flipped it over to paint detail along the top, and I forgot that I had flipped it over. So then I was like, okay, it's time for the moon, or the sun, in eclipse, and I painted the little sun, and I did the stars, and I was like, it's done! And then I flipped it over, and I went, crap.
Just remember, the circles from your sky brush strokes are facing to the left.
Oh yeah, that's a good way to remember, because my other painting did not have that. It just kind of had more of a solid blue and less interesting things going on there.
And Hummingbird was saying, rather than a toothbrush, you can use a normal brush or another brush like drumsticks, but you need a drop cloth that covers everything, or to do it outside.
I haven't thought about using a
Just
regular
kind of tap,
brush.
tap, 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 tap.
Tap, tap, tap. Yeah. Okay. Not on this one, but I do want to try that on one of my test canvases. Just for giggles. Okay, so we have some shadows coming through. Ugh. No, that's the wrong one. That's direct sunlight. Damn it. Okay, well. Remember those oops moments that I was just talking about? Well, we just had one. Yeah, I'm trying to use some of my crappy brown. It's really problematic. little bit of a lighter brown than what I've got, so I'm going to lighten it with a little bit of yellow ochre.
Jean says it's kind of fun and trippy to imagine your hair is moving because of wind moving through the fissure you're
Oh yeah, because my hair, the
Yeah,
fan's blowing, my hair's going everywhere.
Yeah.
Alrighty, no, I want my other brush for this one. Maybe. We'll see what happens. Okay, so that's the dark side. Oh yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, okay, okay. Hold on, hold on. I think I'm gonna have to flip this guy over again. Okay. Alright, alright. We're working, we're working. I'm thirsty. I'll show off my very first piece of swag at Mysterium. I love this mug. Talk about a painting coming to life. Aw, thank you. That's my goal. I know.
That was in remarks to the wind
Oh.
through the fissure.
Well, I mean, it's valid. Alrighty, let's see what's out of direct sunlight. Yep. Ew. This is gross paint. Ugh. I'm still trying to paint with my paint that looks like poop.
Did not come up with a good mixed brown there.
No, not really. I mean, it kind of works, but it's
It looks kind of greenish gray from here.
It's greenish gray. It doesn't. This is why we don't mix black to darken colors. We have to find a darker color and work with that. But my darker color sucks. Unless you want to rummage through that box and see if you can find another one.
The dark brown.
Dark brown. There might be a couple in here as well. That might work. Granted, may have found another brown. Craft paint for the win. Maybe. The stuff is a lot thinner, but
That's bronze.
eh.
Which probably is not going to work.
That's kind of a, no, that's just a tiny bit darker than the sienna. I mean, it's better than a poke in the nose, but
So your other one is burnt sienna?
yeah. Oh, it's raw sienna, but that's, actually, let me see that. Hold the phone. This might counteract some of the green that's in the, How do we get brown? We mix all the primaries together. So if there's too much green, add red.
Yeah, up here I'm seeing copper. Copper's the only real brownish.
That actually worked.
Woo!
Yeah, look at that. I'm relatively successful in mixing brown that doesn't use my poopy paint. So this was the light brown, the raw sienna, mixed with black, which made it look green. We added some of the blue, but it was still green, so then we added a color called burnt sienna, which is kind of a natural looking reddish brown color right there. And you get brown by mixing all three primaries. So since that had all three primaries, this is a relatively okay looking neutral brown. I'm satisfied with this. This is going to be good for working with shadows. Because my old poopy paint goes on there clumpy. It's not smooth. Still not as dark as I want it, but let's see, what if I do.
Yeah, on the video it does kind of look like wind coming out of the fissure.
Okay, so that one. That's gonna be in shadow. That's gonna be in shadows up there.
Several people are saying that it's looking really great.
Oh, thank you. This is extremely nerve-wracking, I gotta say. I don't think I've ever done a live painting with quite so many people watching, so this is absolutely fun. My God, there's 32 people on the stream.
Yeah.
I'm used to like one, maybe two if my mom's watching, but you know. I know Capella was saying yesterday that there needs to be a regular monthly painting with Kelly, and that y'all will put together a list of various scenes from the Myst games and go, paint this one this month, and there will be like a raffle with a winner winning a print of it or something like that.
Yeah, you did have 45, I think, earlier was the largest I saw.
Wow.
I haven't been keeping a close eye on it, but I glance over every once in a while.
Okay.
Hummingbird now wants to see the cathedral stained glass.
Cathedral stained glass?
We were talking about your stained glass painting earlier.
Oh,
Not right now. Focus on this.
if you want to go find it and hold it up to the camera, you're
Later
welcome to.
time. You can post a picture later.
I think it, I don't even, no, it's over there. That's where it is.
You can post a picture later.
Okay.
Post it in the Arts and Crafts channel later.
This part's taking much longer than I anticipated. I want the ground to look like ground. Alrighty. It's starting to take some shape. Sun's right there.
So right now you're just trying to kind of get the shading right on the edges.
Mm-hmm. We are adding highlights and shadows to the edge of the ground, and then we'll blend a little bit with the black, and then we'll do stars. This part is taking a little longer than I anticipated, but that's because I want it to look right.
Tamaba is saying that it looks great so far.
Oh, thank you.
I like the different colors that kind of look like different sediments or different angles reflecting the light.
Yep, that's the whole goal. I want this to look like ground. Okay, I'm gonna flip this over again. Because if the light source is in the middle, that's the challenge. Like, how do we get this to look like, you know? almost done with highlights. We'll add some shadows. And then I will be on to painting space. Yeah, that's good better. Okay. Can you all hear me okay? I realize I've been talking kind of quiet lately and space! Yes.
The 10, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. The 10 1952 is also talking about the contrast of the two streams
Oh.
with Gelly or Jelly, I don't know which, quickly playing Masterpiece Edition while Kelly slowly creates a masterpiece.
Oh. That's really sweet. Oh, that's supposed to be lit. Yeah. Okay. I've tried doing like speed paintings. Not my jam. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna wash my brush a little bit. I'm not gonna beat the devil out of it. Let's try that again. I'm washing my brush now. And I'm not going to beat the devil out of it. There we go. All the words came. I do have a wet paper towel that I use to kind of wipe off the brushes and kind of get that, oops, sorry, wiggle in the camera a little bit, get a lot of excess paint off of there. So, now what we want to do is, I'm going to bring in some of the black. I need a use this shovel.
Hummingbird is listening to the unwritten at the same time.
Oh,
And
wow.
That's also some interesting juxtaposition.
That's fun. Great. Blend these guys.
Jean also wants to see the stained glass painting.
Go get it. It's right there.
You're in the middle of this. That should be
Sweetie.
after.
Okay. I should clarify, it's not a mist stained glass piece. It's just stained glass. So if it gives you an idea for how to do a mist stained glass piece, there's the technique. Go get it.
Fine.
Show off our friends.
Oh, there.
I forgot how little that canvas was.
We will temporarily interrupt this painting with a completely different painting.
Yeah, basically. That's using all of the metallic paints. So we have the light shine on it. It's very shiny. There's so much shine.
Now back to our regularly scheduled painting. I'm kind of taking black and
back brushing a little bit to kind of blend it with the browns. Because there's not a whole lot of color blending there. It looks a little weird. We're almost done with this part, I promise, and then space.
It is now right side up
It is
again.
right side up.
Just to keep track.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to see when the light's still hitting it and it's kind of still glossy and still not glossy and... Okay, space. Let's do this. It's a bit gross. Let's get that in some water. Go. I need a fresh piece of wax paper. Much mind?
I'm unplugging your Twitch channel. Well, auto-plugged it, and then I was adding to it.
Okay.
Your other streaming.
I'm other streaming?
Your streaming that you do every
Oh.
other Friday morning.
Oh.
You needed
Wax paper.
wax paper.
Thank you. Other nice thing about wax paper is that when you're using it for a palette, when it's time to switch, you can just ball it up and throw it away and grab a new piece and... Yes, streaming. It's a challenge. That's enormous. Hey.
I wasn't sure how much you needed.
I have that. It's perfect. Alright.
Space pan!
Space!
Paint!
Space paint!
Space paint, yes, is what I meant to say.
Space paint! You almost had it.
I did. It was close.
Alright, we're getting some, I think that's tea that got on my paint there. Metallic blue. As you saw from the stained glass painting, metallic paint on the black shines, and which in space painting I think is really cool. We have metallic purple. And I'm not using very much of these colors, it's just a little bit. If you don't have metallic colors but you're really interested in the shiny factor of it, if you have mica powder, you can just mix in some mica powder with your paints, and that works too. You can get mica powder at the craft store. Oh, I'm slightly terrified about this part. Okay.
You've done plenty of space painting.
You'd think. I did a whole, like, mural on a wall that was space painting, which was fantastic. And the part about one of the fun parts is that you can do this technique and throw in, like, glow-in-the-dark paint, which is really fun. So I should have spaced this out a little bit more. So I'm starting by just kind of smearing some paint on my sponge, and we're just going to very, very, very lightly, to start with, tap on the corners of the canvas. Stay put, behave. Now blue is dark, so you're not really going to see much of that. But we're just going to very, very lightly add a little bit of blue.
Yeah, that doesn't, well, at least on my small window, that doesn't really come through at all.
I'll hold it up to the camera in just a minute. Okay, it's very, very light. It's also really hard to see because that blue is dark, but it should look something like that. So it's going for a little bit of texture and just a little bit of color to start with, and then we're going to build on that. I'm barely touching the canvas. Super light. A kitchen sponge works just well for this part too. If you watch my 233 painting, I did a lot of painting with a kitchen sponge.
Apparently there was also a question, does the, that I missed earlier when you were talking about the mica powder.
Yeah.
Does that need to be tinted as well, or is the paint tinting enough?
The paint tinting is plenty. The mica powder, having tinted mica powder can actually augment or adjust the tint of your paint. So if you just have regular white mica powder, be prepared that it might lighten the color of your paint a little bit. But no, it's fine. You can just dump in mica powder and go to town.
I think it was just Odo asking that.
Oh, okay.
Unless he pulled from a source that I didn't see.
Alright, this corner needs a little bit of space left. But Kelly, the original mist didn't have any space nebula. Why are we doing this? Well, you know, because it's my theory that, and I talked a little bit about this last night in one of our rambling sessions, that if space is the pith of the universe and it's in between all the worlds, it's literally the thing that connects all the different ages, because, I mean, that's how you find the Mist book in the first place, right? Atris jumps into the fissure with the Mist book, he links, the book keeps falling, it lands on Earth, you find it, and that's how you discover Mist in the first place, according to the story. Now, if that's true, then the starry expanse is what connects Riven to Earth to Mist to all of the ages in all of the bajillions of them. And so, if you play abduction, there's a little bit of parallel there, where, like, yes, they made it abundantly clear that there's nods to Mist, but abduction's its own thing. But they're still using space to connect the different worlds. So this is two parts. Part of it is maybe it's the same space, and the other part is, have you looked up? There's more than just black in our sky. There's always stuff going on. We just need to look for it. So now I'm adding purple. And there's still a little bit of blue in there. Don't fret, we're going to add stars too. I'd like to think that, you know, I'm painting something that we might see maybe in a dream, because we're floating in space and we're looking up into ground that's been ripped apart, and we're looking into another world, literally another world. Like, how cool is that? And so for me, that seems like something that we might see in a dream, maybe.
Great. Craig says, Riven had Nebula, so that's canon enough for me.
I like it.
And Jean says, Yisha like to drop you into the starry expanse in Uru.
Yeah, she does, man. She's like, alright, I'm gonna tell you a story. Now jump! Alrighty, we're getting there. Okay, now we're gonna switch over to the toothpick. We're not done with the sponge yet, but we're gonna start dropping in some stars. This way, some of the stars are layered behind layers of colorful fun things. Happy little stars. When you're painting with the metallic colors, it is a little bit more of a challenge to know when these colors dry because they are very shiny, and when the light hits it, they do this very, very lovely shimmery pow thing. So sometimes if you're painting not with the sponging but with more of a solid color, it can be a little challenging to see if, you know, because that's how you tell. Is the paint dry? You shine light on it. Is it dry? With the shimmery paint, it's like, is it dry? Now I'm blind. So, okay. Yeah, let's add some more purple. There's not nearly enough purple in here, and I'm going to mix that with some white. Go. One of these days I'll get the rest of the glitter out of the sponge. I did a commission piece for a friend of mine where it was just kind of a lightly textured background. There were some greens and browns in there. And, I thought, oh yeah, I've got a really good sponge for that. And I did the whole piece. I did some stenciled letters on there, and I gave it to her. I was really excited. And then after the whole thing was done, I realized that there was glitter, not a ton of it, but enough, embedded in the paint. And I was like, oh crap. This was a piece that was supposed to be from like Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, kind of a thing, and I gave it to her, and I'm like, it's not supposed to sparkle, and she was like, yeah. She liked it. It was fun, but for me, it was quite a bit embarrassing. Space. Nebulas, yes, I love nebulas. When I was growing up, I was destined to be an aerospace engineer. I was very excited about that. And then that didn't happen. And so then I was going to be a marine biologist. But now, well, obviously I'm neither. But I do find great joy in both as a hobby. Not so much the aerospace engineering as just my fascination with space in general. Which means that I really like to paint it. It's really fun. Alright, now without even washing the sponge, we're going to add some blue over in this corner and see what happens. Oh, that's fun. That adds a little bit of...
Nothing that can't wait.
Okay. From your mom? Or from
And
my mom?
And your work, my mom and your work stuff, but both of it's stuff that can wait.
Oh, okay. That was almost bad. Stay. Downside to streaming, this easel is up like as high as it'll go. So like, even though I've got a little piece of tape to try and hold the canvas in place so that it doesn't move, well, doing the corners can be a little bit of a challenge. Oh, you can actually see the nebula coming through there. Yay! Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep doing this. Alright, let's see. I want to add a little bit of teal. I kind of do. Okay. So that one's going to be a little bit more blue. A little bit more. Okay. Alright.
Will the teal just be our little secret here?
Hmm?
I said, will the teal just be our little secret here?
I kind of want to add a little bit of teal up there in the corner. Maybe. We'll see what happens. This is currently what my palette looks like. It's a heaping mess. That's how I blend my colors when I sponge. So I just keep tapping the sponge to kind of evenly distribute the colors, or sort of evenly distribute the colors. And then I can start kind of, oh yeah, there we go. There's some white. Woo boy!
Randomly, evenly distribute.
Randomly, evenly distribute, yeah. There's a little bit of random. And there's a little, ooh, that's fun. That's fun. Oh yeah, okay. And then, without washing my sponge, I am diving right into the teal. Sorry for the clanging. My easel has a drawer, and I have the drawer pulled out, and that's what I have the palette resting on. But then when I like tap the sponge on the thing, the whole drawer like rattles and shakes around, so. Sorry about that, it's a little noisy. Alright, here we go. Ooh, that's pretty. A little bit of teal up there. Oh, I like that.
Greg says your palette is cleaner than his desk.
That's spectacular. Oh. Alright, we're gonna do a little more blue. Well, you should see my studio right now. It's kind of a catastrophe. We've been doing a whole lot of sewing masks and face shields, and we just started doing sublimation. So my studio is currently a pile of, okay, I have painting, I've got streaming, we have masks, we have piles of blanks to practice sublimating on, we've got all sorts of random things. It's a little stressing me out because I want to organize it better, but okay.
And y'all can't tell in the video, but she does all of this painting over a white carpet with no drop cloth.
Mm-hmm. And I just try to be really, really careful not to drop paint. So far I've been successful. Alright. We don't have enough stars. We don't have nearly enough stars here. Happy little stars. Some of the stars are going to be a little bit bigger, and some of them are going to be a little bit smaller.
So with the toothpick,
Uh-huh.
how are you kind of changing the sizes of the stars?
Okay, so when you first... Here, let me smear off the...
That
paint.
one was from me.
That was from you. Well, I will tell them too. So we start with... Here, let me smear off all the paint with this toothpick. We start out with a lovely toothpick. See if the camera can focus in on there. Boink. Toothpick. It doesn't come to a like razor sharp point, but it comes to a sharp enough point. So when we get a little bit of paint on there, just a little glob, it's like a little mini Q-tip. Now, once we put that first splotch on there, That's going to be a little bit bigger. Now our Q-tip is already smaller because that paint is now on the canvas. And we're going to keep going and keep going. So the first few stars are going to be a little bit bigger. But all of a sudden, there's no more paint on the tip of the cannot drop paint. What dark magic is that? There was a sacrifice involved. The neighbor might be missing their dog. I'm kidding. I don't know. I'm just careful. The top of the toothpick, the point of the toothpick, camera, no longer has paint on it. So then I rotate the toothpick to the side a tiny bit. And then I'm actually getting much smaller stars by having it off to the side. And that allows different sizes of stars that we're painting. Does that answer your question, even though that was yours
Sure.
and not theirs? Okay. You can still ask questions, I don't mind. I know, we still need the eclipsed sun there. Even though that's like the scene from Riven, I like it. I think I want to keep it. It would make the most sense since the whole lighting around here was all based on the sun being in a specific spot. So we should have it. Star was less happy. Well, it was kind of more of a line than a star, so he looked very
It
sad.
was a shooting star.
It was a shooting star. Ooh, that's fun. That's a really big star. So I hope when everybody's done, you'll post your masterpiece in the Arts and Crafts channel on Discord, because I want to see what everyone's doing, and I'm really excited about it. Still see it. Oh, that's actually turning out. It's different when I'm seeing it on screen versus actually staring at it. Oh, that looks cool. Okay, let's not mess this up.
Fluffy little nebulae.
Fluffy little nebula, yes! That's absolutely right. We're painting happy little stars and fluffy little nebula.
Greg wants to swim in them.
I kind of do too. This looks like a lot of fun. It looks like it would be very serene. Like if you've ever done those sensory deprivation pots where you just like, you're laying there in water that is exactly your body temperature, so you can't feel anything. You have earplugs in so you can't hear anything. You have goggles on and your eyes closed and it's dark so you can't see anything. And there's so much salt that you're floating, and then you just lay there for like a half an hour. And it is actually really bizarre because we're used to being able to sense things, and all of your senses are just like neutral for a little while. But it's so relaxing. I did that one time, and the people that the place that I was at forgot that I was in there, and there's not exactly a timer because you can't see anything. So I must have been in there for a good couple of hours before they finally remembered that I was there and knocked on I just randomly heard a knock, and when I got out and looked at the time, I was like, they forgot I was here. Because I was supposed to get like 15 minutes, and I got like 2.5 hours. So.
Did you fall asleep?
Probably. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But like when I think about how serene it would be to float in here, that's kind of what comes to mind. Of like, it's space. You wouldn't be able to hear anything. This is the safe kind of space, so you wouldn't just, freeze to death. You'd be able to breathe.
Have you seen Fringe?
No.
Okay. Greg asked, like in Fringe.
Oh, I have not seen Fringe. I'm kind of TV, what's the word I'm looking for? Challenged? I don't watch a lot of TV.
And I assume that after this is done, you're also going to post a nice high quality photo of it
Yes,
to
absolutely.
the Arts and Crafts channel.
Absolutely, because I'm actually pretty proud of this one. The first one, not so much. Do I even have the first one? Where's the first one? There it is. Frick. The first one turned out okay, but it's upside down, which I was by me. Is it backwards? It's backwards. Well, whatever. This is the first one. It kind of works. It's a little bit different. The brush strokes in the sky are much more boring. The blending around the outside was eh. And the Space Nebula was okay, but nowhere near where I wanted it to be. So this is the first attempt. And then I had my epiphany at 2 in the morning. And I like this one much better. But that's it. This is it exactly. Practice, you get better. Even though this is one painting later. Like, it's already so much better than my first one.
Apparently, Fringe has a sensory deprivation tank that's important for the story.
Oh. They were popular for a while. I was seeing ads for them all over the place.
Yeah,
Possibly
definitely
because
know
of Fringe.
it. I just, oh, that. I thought you were talking about the show.
Well, yes, I've seen ads for Fringe too. No, I'm seeing ads for sensory tanks. Okay. I think that's enough stars. Maybe. No, there's more. It's space. Space has enough stars.
Space is the place.
Space is the place. Almost done. And then we'll paint the sun. And then we'll be good to go. I had no idea how long it was going to take to paint this. That one took like an hour-ish.
With the technical difficulties, we're at almost 2 hours.
Okay.
So the technical difficulties were, what, 15 minutes or so
Something like
late?
that. Yeah, that was annoying. We had everything set up. And then I just didn't want to play.
Or straight.
Play along.
No, yes.
I didn't want to behave. That started with me behind here. Okay, let's do the sun. Let's do this. I will be using a small flat brush for the sun. So the bristles come to a tiny, tiny point, but then they are also flat. So this will allow me to really get a good silhouette there. I wish I had a stencil. Oh well. We're gonna freehand this bad boy.
Is it dry enough that you can have your hand on the canvas?
Yes. That's what I was just checking. I was like, wait a minute. Yes, that is dry. Okay, that's a good size. Let's do it there. Just trying to very, very lightly outline it with just a little bit of paint. That gives me some wiggle room if I need to make adjustments. Alright, there. Eclipse. Go right about there. Okay, so here's a nifty trick. If you make an oops and your paint is dry and you're like, wow, that doesn't work at all, get a Q-tip, dip it in a little bit of water, and just very gently brush it.
So Hummingbird earlier was talking about you can also use water-based baby wipes.
Yeah, water-based baby wipes would probably do that. I have never actually used those before.
Yeah, she was saying that you can use them to quickly remove accidental paint from dry layers. That was actually brought up quite a bit ago.
It's a sun, not a moon. It's a sun on eclipse, not a moon. Scrub it too much because I don't want to get the other layers off there. I'm having to remember how eclipses work. It's two balls that are the same size.
Yeah. They don't necessarily need to be the same size. In general. Not specifically in the game, in general. Yeah, the other one did a little bit better job of conveying that. I was saying that one did a little bit better job of conveying that.
Yeah. I think my husband just left the room so that he could go sneeze. Did you just leave the room so you could sneeze?
Yes.
Okay. Just check. Not thrilled with this bottom corner, but you know what? We're just gonna have to go with it. Nearly have that kind of arc that I wanted to have. There we go. That's better.
So you were taking the Q-tip there and just kind of removing paint to round out the edge, smooth out the edge a little better.
Yep. And better define the shape of the eclipse. Because if you think about it, this is the sun, where the sky is showing there, that's the moon, and they should overlap and then move. So when they move, it needs to be, it looks like two circles are overlapping that are the same size. And the arc that I had was not the same size, but this looks better. And there you have it, folks. We have the fissure in fanciness. Thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun. Don't forget to clean up. Keep your stuff wet. Keep your sponge in the sink. Lord knows. Yeah, this was. I hope you enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for helping with relay questions and all that stuff. I'm glad the fan was able to, add a little bit of fascination with the hair blowing.
Some
and
nice ambience.
It's a little nice ambience and realism to have the hair blowing around the fissure and. So, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the stream now. So thank you so much for watching. This will be on YouTube. Mysterium's YouTube channel later, so I don't know how Drew's doing that. I don't know if it's automatic
I
or
think it's automatic.
Oh, okay.
I assume that as soon as it stops, it'll just
automatically upload. Yay!
I don't know for sure, but
Well, I know the other painting did. Oh, speaking of which, many of you are kind of wondering about it. Here's my big one. Yes, and you can see where the paint is just ripped right off the canvas in many spots, and it's terrible, and I love this one, and I'm very sad. But it's okay, I will do this one again, and that one will also probably be streamed. It's automatic, yay. Oh, thank you! Oh, no, thank you so much for your technical help with our difficulty earlier, because that was so much fun. So, alright guys, I'm going to turn off the stream. Thank you so much for joining. This was a lot of fun. We will see you throughout the rest of Mysterium. Today's the last day, so we got a couple more events, and then closing ceremonies in the next year. Yay!